Mr Speaker.
Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Speaker, I want to just start off by addressing for the record some of the historical inaccuracies from that member, because that member accused the last government. It is important to say this in the context of the overall budget, because it was Bill English, of course, on taking office that acknowledged that the reason we could get through this recession was because the quote is there. The quote is there for old cue ball over there, because he doesn't read the historical record, of course. Bill English said the reason we could get through this recession was because we were in such good shape as a legacy of the last government. And as evidence of that, they talk about 9 years of a Labor government. I just want to evidence that by the following. 9 years of low unemployment, 9 years of economic growth, and 9 years of surpluses. And I'll read them out. 9 years of surpluses. And I remember getting taunted by Bill English when I was Associate Finance Minister, because he said a Labor government was too tight to spend any of the money that we had squirreled away on surpluses. Never in my life would I have thought a Labor government would have been attacked by a National Party for not spending money. That's what they did, sir. Let's look at the 9-year record as Ms Adams crawls behind the desk. The year 2000, a surplus of $594 million. 2001, a surplus of $1.4 billion. 2002, a surplus of $2.47 billion. 2003, $4.366 billion. 2004, $5.5 billion. 2005, $7 billion. 2006, $7.1 billion. 2007, $5.8 billion. 2008, $5.6 billion worth of surpluses. So I'm very, very proud to say of 9 years that we had 9 years as cue ball. I invite him to actually read the historical record. He didn't take offence.
Oh, I'm taking offence.
Can't unbutton.
I'm on my feet. It's not good for the member to start interjecting. And I'm saying that all members will be referred to by their appropriate titles. Honourable Clayton Cosgrove. Point of order.
Mr Speaker,
yeah.
I do respect your decision. I think it is the right decision. I think my colleague was incorrect to say that. But I do say that earlier today I didn't take a point of order. The opposition were referred to as Muppets, which is as disrespectful as you can get. I asked the Chair, all we want, Mr Speaker, is consistency and even-handedness. And if the decision is to set a standard like that, well, then I expect it to be applied evenly to all of us.
I think the member will know that if a offence is taken, it should be raised at the time. I can't rule on that. I would also just make the point that there is probably a few subtle differences between a general assertion across a group of people rather than an individual. But the standard which I wish to see in here is one of greater respect than we've just had, and I think the member nodding appreciates that, so let's move on. Clayton
so, Mr Speaker...
A point of order, Honourable Rick Barker.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. I don't want to extend this matter, but I would make this point to you, that numerous Speaker's rulings make it clear that if it is offensive to say to an individual, it's equally offensive to say to a party. And the reason for that Speaker's ruling is very clear, because if we don't have the same level of offence if there's a different level of offence for a party and an individual, then of course members will start to use the offensive material collectively as a means of avoiding the Speaker's ruling. So I want to say to you, Mr Speaker, I think it's fair. If it's offensive to a member, it's offensive to a group of members. And I think they should be treated equally, whether individually or collectively.
Yeah, and I have affirmed that I want to see more respect in the House. Clayton Cosgrove.
So, Mr Speaker, we've had 9 years of surpluses, 9 years of low unemployment and 9 years of growth, and then we have a budget today that presents us with $16 billion worth of deficit. $16 billion worth of deficit. And I say again, on taking office, Bill English noted for the record, and I can produce that honourable member, the quote, that he said, we had left this country in good shape. And I say that, sir, because we have to view this budget in the context of which it deserves. The government now presents a $16 billion deficit. The member before me spoke about the Canterbury earthquake and the money that's been set aside or put up for that. I say this in passing. I'm sure the people of Canterbury, to be generous, will welcome the fact that there is money and that money is going to flow to assist them. And I know that all Canterbury members, if not all members of this Parliament, will welcome that. The issue now is this, though. How is that money going to be spent? The issue also is, of course, that no longer, thanks to the budget documents, can the government keep blaming the Christchurch event for the woes, economic woes, of this country. That alibi has been torn asunder in the budget documents today. But the question is, of course, how is that money for the Canterbury earthquake going to be spent? Because now, of course, Mr Brownlee has all the power, extraordinary wartime powers, which we supported. He has his own government department now, sir, and he has a bucket of cash. So the expectation, sir, all the bases are loaded. He has all the tools at his disposal, and the expectation will be now by the people of Canterbury that there will be no more excuses, no more delays, and we will see a speedy acceleration, sir, of the recovery, far faster than we have at the moment. And I welcome that, sir, because I'm sure that is Mr Brownlee's intention, to provide money for those businesses that are going to be cauterised because of the support package, which ends, I believe, in a couple of weeks, and support, sir, money and support for the employees who depend on that, sir, for the heating program, which is not as it should be and has been delayed, for the drafty houses, as it goes on, sir, as it goes on. So I look forward to that acceleration, to no excuses and no delays in the Canterbury recovery, given the massive resources this government has bequeathed to itself. I say this, though, sir, and the people of Canterbury, I suspect, will not take much of an interest in this budget because, and I don't say that in a disrespectful way, because they are interested in the here and now. Do they have a dunny? How are they going to get their houses fixed? What does the future hold for them? But there will come a time, sir, as they move past that, when they will focus on this budget, as they realise their KiwiSaver has been cut again, kicked in the guts again, sir, their ethos of savings, and when we have $20 less going to a family where there are two KiwiSavers, they lose $20, sir, $20 a week because of that. Those families in Christchurch will focus, they are smart, they will focus on the detail as they move past their own personal circumstances. And of course, Middle New Zealand, of course, whacked again by this government in the cuts to working for families. Many Canterbury families, sir, the victims of this quake, in dire economic circumstances, will be hit in respect of their working for families package thanks to this government. I say this, then we come, sir, to the asset sales. And it's very, very interesting because the government has confirmed in writing in its budget documents what it intends to do in respect, what it signalled some months ago in respect of asset sales. So we have this notion that the Kiwi public are being told that you will be better off, the community will be better off if assets are sold. Now, they were told that in the 1990s, sir, by the then Bolger government, that all would be fixed. Everybody would be better off if we flogged off the family silver. And they weren't, and people remember that. And the economic proposition that's being put to them in this budget, aside from the fact, we sold assets in the 80s, but the difference is, I say to Mr Williamson, we learnt. We learnt. And in 9 years, and they don't like it, sir. It's like the old Dad's Army thing, they don't like the old cold steel. The difference is, yes, in the 80s we sold assets, and when we came back, sir, into power for those 9 years of surpluses, we never sold a thing. The difference is that Maurice Williamson, who was a minister in the Bolger government, who was party to selling all those assets, is now a minister in the Keys government, has learnt nothing. He never made it through Smartgate at the airport. He has learnt nothing, sir. So I say that, Mr Williamson, eat that one, because he's learnt absolutely nothing. And Mr Williamson and the government, of course, go to the New Zealand people and say, here's the proposition. Here's the proposition. In the budget documents it said that Kiwis, New Zealand investors, will be at the front of the queue for shareholdings in these assets. How are they going to guarantee that? They couldn't guarantee it with Contact Energy, now owned by foreigners. Yes, a few Kiwis may have grabbed a few shares, but the truth is it's now owned by foreigners. So I asked Mr Williamson, given he's now selling assets twice, how's he going to guarantee that Kiwis will be first in the queue to buy, by the way, the assets that they already own? They already own them. And then I say to Mr Williamson, this proponent of Smartgate, maybe he ain't been through it, I say, where's all the cash that these Kiwis are going to have to buy the shares in the assets that they already own, all this cash that's awash in the economy and in the wallets of Kiwis. Where are they going to get that from? Oh, sorry, Mr Williamson. Sorry, he's a bit silent now. Because Kiwis don't have the cash, given the cost of living they're facing, to make ends meet, let alone to go and buy the assets that genius, for the second time in a second administration over nearly 20 years, has decided he's going to flog off again. So they can't guarantee, sir, that Kiwis, mums and dads, will be first in the queue. They can't guarantee that they can buy, if they have the cash, which they don't, assets which they already own. And then the proposition's put to them, well, look, we've borrowed for tax cuts for the rich, blown all the cash, right? The credit card's maxed out. So what we're going to do is flog off a few assets. And then I ask them, where's the plan? Then what? Then what? After you've flogged them, what do you then do, sir? After you've flogged those assets? And a group of those assets, of course, are power companies. Now, the other thing that mum and dad Kiwi know is that if you invest $1 in a business, you want a return. You want a return, otherwise you would not invest. And the interesting point is this, that the foreign interests that grab the energy assets, of course, will naturally want a return. And how do you get a return? Well, naturally you make profit. And how do you make profit? Well, you raise the price of what you're trying to sell. And that means for Kiwi mums and dads, if they have the cash to buy back, as old Curly in the corner would know, because he was at university, did an economics degree. Well, that sucked him out of the pack.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, sorry.
My name is actually Aaron Gilmore, not Curly, and I wish the member would actually use that name appropriately in the House.
Now,
I withdraw and apologise, sir.
Well,
as Mr Gilmore.
Hang on, I'm just going to uphold that. I thought we were doing okay, and offence was taken. I'm going to ask the member to withdraw the comment.
I withdraw.
Thank you.
From somebody who's follically challenged, I was offering a compliment, sir, but I withdraw and apologise. I withdraw and apologise. If only I had his style, sir, and those follicles and those wonderful locks akin to Samson. Sir, so what we have here, sir, is a proposition that sells a bill of goods to the New Zealand people that says if you have a bit of money, you can buy shares you already own, that you already own them, and then of course the energy companies are flogged off and the power prices go up. So this is a wonderful budget for people, isn't it? Their Kiwi savers cut, their working for families is kicked in the guts, and now, of course, we flog the asset, or they flog the assets of.
The member's time has expired.
There is no plan, there is no vision.
Mr Speaker.
David.